Eminem and 50 Cent just lit up the rap game again, and this time they're not holding back. They've dropped a bold warning aimed straight at Suge Knight, and what they revealed is enough to shake up everything we thought we knew about their loyalty and the beef that's been boiling for years.
They was not scared of Suge Knight. They was terrified.
Was somebody from the barbershop like punch you and knock you out after that? Like you be knocked out like from the guy from the barbershop do that? It changed and they be like, Suge's outside, and everybody be like, yeah? What do you want?
That old grudge? Yeah, it's still alive and kicking. They haven't forgotten what Suge did to the people they cared about. Not even close. Now, if you're not too deep into hip-hop history, don't worry. This bad blood didn't just come out of nowhere. Eminem and 50 didn't start it, they inherited it. The minute they linked with Dr. Dre, they stepped into a war zone. See, Suge Knight, real name Marion Hugh Knight Jr., didn't enter the music biz like everyone else. He started off as muscle, doing security for stars like Bobby Brown. But it didn't take long before he realized the real money and power weren't on stage. It was in the back rooms, behind the curtain, running the show. Back in '91, Suge teamed up with Dr. Dre, the DOC, and Dick Griffey to launch what would become one of the most feared and controversial labels in hip-hop, Death Row Records. And when Dre dropped The Chronic in '92, game changer. That sound? Unstoppable. Then Snoop Dogg hit in '93 with Doggy Style, and the whole industry felt the quake. And just when it couldn't get crazier, they brought in Tupac. At that point, Death Row was the culture, the sound, the money, the style, everything. But all that flash came with some dark secrets lurking in the background. Suge didn't just run Death Row, he ruled it with an iron grip. Word on the street? Vanilla Ice got straight up pressed into signing over his royalties. And that's just one story. People in the industry have been talking, and the stories are wild. Multiple sources claim Suge Knight made artists straight up strip in the office over petty stuff that could have been handled with a simple convo. That's how twisted things got at Death Row. Suge ran it like a dictatorship. Fear, control, and intimidation were the rules of the game. Whatever Suge said, that's what happened. No questions asked. But in 1996, Dr. Dre finally had enough. He walked away from it all. Not just the chaos, but the money too. Left his royalties, his 50% stake in the label, everything. That's how deep the drama ran. Dre didn't care about the millions, he just wanted peace. So he dipped out and started building Aftermath Records from scratch. But Suge? He wasn't about to sit back and let that slide. He felt betrayed, like Dre stabbed him in the back. So he made it his mission to crush Dre's success without him. And for a while, it looked like Suge might win. Aftermath's early releases weren't popping off like people hoped. The streets were talking, whispering that maybe Dre had lost his spark. Meanwhile, Suge sat back like a puppet master, watching it all play out. But just when folks were ready to count Dre out, he pulled a power move nobody saw coming. He signed a white kid from Detroit with nothing to lose and everything to prove. Eminem. Straight out of 8 Mile, M came in like a tornado. Wild, unfiltered, and vicious with the pen. When the Slim Shady LP dropped, it flipped the whole industry on its head. And just like that, Dre was back in the spotlight. And with 3 Grammys in his pocket, he didn't just come back, he took over. That's when Suge Knight stopped sitting on the sidelines and started scheming again. But this time, he wasn't just targeting Dr. Dre. His sights locked onto Eminem. According to multiple media reports, Suge had a new mission: disrupt Slim Shady's rise before it got too real. Now jump to 1999, one wild award show night that still gets brought up in hip-hop circles. Eminem was just walking to the stage, probably thinking it was another regular moment in the spotlight. But out of nowhere, Suge's crew rolled in deep, rocking red shirts, loud, aggressive, and straight up surrounding M, yelling "Death Row!" Yeah, they weren't there to clap or smile. They came to rattle him. It was a straight-up intimidation stunt. But M? He didn't even blink. No panic, no flinch. Just kept it moving, walked up like a boss, handed the award to DMX, and sat back down like nothing even happened. Cold. And it didn't stop there. Outside the venue, Suge's people were still lurking, waiting around M's limo, hanging back like they were planning something. just standing there like they had unfinished business. But let's be real, M had already seen the worst. Growing up in Detroit, surviving 8 Mile, and fighting to even be taken seriously in rap, that kind of heat outside the limo wasn't about to break him. As time went on, Suge never really let up. Whenever Eminem started gaining momentum, Suge would pop up with some shade. Interviews, offhand comments, behind-the-scenes gossip, he was always throwing shots. Trying to downplay M's rise, saying he wasn't from the streets. Claiming he was just playing a character. But that hate? It never stopped M from climbing higher. Then came one tape, just one cassette, and it flipped everything upside down. While Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre were digging through stacks of demos, Dre suddenly froze. He heard a voice that made him sit up and go, "Who the hell is that?" That beetled, razor-sharp delivery? It was none other than Eminem, a hungry young MC from Detroit trying to survive off scraps. Eminem came up rough, raised by a single mom, broke, bullied, and constantly counted out. But that pain, it didn't break him, it fueled him. He became a beast in Detroit's underground battle scene, going head-to-head with anyone brave enough to step in his path. And being a white rapper in a scene dominated by black voices? That made his grind even tougher. He wasn't just battling other MCs, he was fighting for respect. Every bar, every rhyme, every stage. But his style? It was different. Maspool, violent, unfiltered, and unforgettable. In 1998, Dre took a major risk and signed M to Aftermath. And that risk? It paid off big time. Together, they dropped the Slim Shady LP, a filed, twisted, genius-level debut that hit #2 on the Billboard 200 with 283,000 copies sold in week 1. That wasn't just a win, it was a statement. The album earned M a Grammy for Best Rap Album, and just like that, Dre was back at the top, untouchable again. The Dre-M duo became a legendary force in hip-hop. But success like that, it doesn't come without enemies. Suge Knight was still watching from the shadows, and he wasn't clapping. He was heated. By then, Death Row Records was falling apart. Tupac was gone. Suge was locked up. And Snoop Dogg? He'd flipped the script completely. Just like Dre, Snoop had walked away from the East Coast versus West Coast war. He wasn't playing Suge's game anymore. He was building his own lane, and that made Suge feel cornered. Anyone Suge Knight saw as turning their back on him, he labeled them an enemy. And once you were on that list, things got ugly. So when Snoop Dogg started breaking away from his control, Suge wasn't having it. The tension exploded fast, and behind the scenes, it got real dark. Word is, Suge was so furious over Snoop's defiance that he even threatened to kill him. That kind of energy? Snoop wasn't about to stick around for it. He later said, "I don't want to be here fearing for my life." So he cut ties completely, walked away from Death Row and never looked back. With Snoop out, it marked the official end of an era. Suge had lost everything, the heavy hitters, the fame, the empire. Death Row Records, once feared and dominant, was falling apart brick by brick. Meanwhile, Dr. Dre and Eminem were out here winning. Dropping chart-topping albums, racking up awards, and locking in their spots as straight-up icons in the game. Watching Dre and M dominate only made Suge's blood boil hotter. Their success felt like a personal betrayal, like they were throwing it in his face. So he zeroed in on Eminem and made it personal. Now M was in his crosshairs. Suge Knight? He was never the type to just talk and let things slide. Back in '99, during a Death Row reunion party out in Hawaii, Suge decided it was time to make a bold move. The guest list was stacked. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, and even their families were there. It was supposed to be a chill, peaceful getaway. But Suge had a whole different agenda. Insiders say Suge flew his crew into town and scattered them all over the island, ready to cause chaos at any moment. It was like he was setting a trap. But word traveled fast, and when Dre caught wind of the setup, he didn't wait around. He made moves instantly. With their families on the line, there was no room for risk. They called in heavy-duty security, even got law enforcement involved, just to make sure nothing went sideways. Nobody was about to get caught slipping on that trip. Then came 2002, a huge turning point. Eminem got his hands on 50 Cent's underground mixtape, Guess Who's Back? And as soon as he heard it, Em knew this guy was something special. He passed it to Dre, and they wasted no time. Next thing you know, they both signed 50 to Shady Aftermath. And when Get Rich or Die Trying dropped on February 6, 2003, it was game over. That album exploded, hit #1 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 872,000 copies in its first week. It wasn't just a debut, it was a takeover. 50 Cent had officially arrived, loud, fearless, and ready for war. But stepping into Dre and M's world also meant stepping straight into their long-running beefs. And Suge Knight? He wasn't just throwing subliminal shots anymore. This was real tension, and it was heating up fast. So word is, Suge Knight wasn't feeling how things were going down. With 50 Cent blowing up under Dre and Eminem's wing, Suge tried to pull a move straight out of his old intimidation playbook. According to reports, he rolled up heavy on the set of 50's In Da Club video shoot, rolling in 30 deep with a crew that looked like they meant business. As soon as Suge and his squad showed up, most of the people on set weren't trying to stick around to see how it played out. They dipped fast. The tension was real. But here's where it gets wild. 50 Cent didn't budge at all. No fear, no hesitation. He stood his ground and straight up confronted Suge, looked him in the eye and basically asked, "What are you on?" That move right there said everything. Suge was used to folks backing down, but not this time. When he realized 50 wasn't about to fold or run. Suge backed off, didn't say a word, just turned around and left. And just when you thought things couldn't get more explosive, Eminem came swinging out of nowhere with a leaked diss track called Smack. And this track? It was straight war. On the record, M didn't hold back at all. He came for both Suge Knight and Ja Rule, name-dropping and throwing lyrical grenades. But the most shocking line? He blamed Suge for the deaths of two of the biggest legends in hip-hop history, Tupac and Biggie. M rapped, "I'm holding Suge responsible for the deaths of the two greatest rappers to ever grace the face of this planet. If only the late, great Mr. Christopher Wallace could tell you himself. I'm holding Suge responsible for the death of Ja Rule or anyone else down with throw. In the immortal words of Pac, speaking for me and any other rapper next to get shot." This track didn't just drop quietly. It hit like a grenade. It's reignited old beef most people thought was buried with the early 2000s. And Suge Knight? He's been silent. No comment, no response, not even a whisper. But the internet? Oh, it's on fire. People are chiming in left and right, and the takes are coming in hot. One user wrote, "I'm no expert on hood politics, but I've heard a lot of folks say the white dudes usually go the hardest because they gotta prove themselves twice as much." Another commented, 50 did what anyone should do to a bully. Stand up and stare him down. Bullies feed off fear. No fear, no power. That might just explain why Eminem and 50 clicked so fast. Both of them came from the mud. No fear, no folding, just pure fight. Another person added, "Suge never cared about the music. It was always about control. And funny enough, that's still his mindset. Look where it got him." Now the question flying around is, should Eminem have dropped this track way back when the tension was fresh? Or was now the perfect time to let it loose, when nobody expected it and the sting hits even harder? Let us know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're rocking with this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and smash that notification bell so you don't miss the next jaw-dropping drop. We've got more wild stories, raw truths, and deep dives coming your way, only here on the channel.